Perceive, process, perform. Do you need inspiration for your practice, or do you simply need to practice inspiration? With this series, we aim to do both. Give us 15 minutes and we'll give you practice inspiration.
Hi, I'm David Schwab, and today I'd like to talk to you about a really interesting topic, millennials and more, the ABCs of reaching generations X, Y, and Z. I'm going to give you just a little slice, just a little segment of my new seminar that I do on this topic, and it's really interesting. Everybody wants to hear about those millennials. So let's just get right to it, shall we? The millennials have influence. Now, I talk to a lot of doctors who say, you know what? I don't care about the millennials. I want old people. I want old people with a mouthful of problems and a pocket full of money. Forget about the young people. But the millennials have such influence that everybody needs to pay attention to them. So let's just take a look at that for just a second, shall we? Well, it turns out that the millennials are the folks born between 1980 and 1999, and they are the largest living generation. They've eclipsed the baby boomers. Hate to tell you this, but the baby boomers are starting to die off. But the millennials are just coming of age. That's where they are. Now, they lead the way when it comes to media consumption, advocacy, and social media usage. Think about that for a second. Leading the way when it comes to all these things like advocacy, social media usage. It's so important. And they are influencing the generations that came before them, like the baby boomers and the senior citizens, but they're also influencing the generations that come after them. So why should you pay attention to the millennials? Because they are the largest living generation and their influence is even greater than their numbers. That's how it works. And guess what? Over the next 20 years, millennials are going to be reaching their peak earning years. That's really amazing. You don't have to wait 20 years to feel this in your practice. If you're going to be practicing for another 5 years, 10 years, if you're going to be practicing till tomorrow, you're feeling the effect of the millennials because they're your patients, they're your employees, they're your future, and they're turning into your present. So we need to pay attention to the millennials. Now, how do you communicate with millennials? I'm going to give you 10 words, 10 little tips that you need to write down and think about to speak the language of the millennials, okay? And when I do this, I want to point out to you that number one, I'm going to tell you what number one is in a second. I'm not talking about boomers, I'm talking about millennials. But if I were talking about boomers, you know what I would say is number one? I'd say the word me, because the boomers are the me generation. An employer hires some boomers and says, you guys, work together in a group. And some of the boomers say, I don't want to work together in a group. This guy could be a slacker. She could be no good. I have to show off to the boss. It's all about me. I have to get ahead. But we're not talking about the boomers. We're talking about the millennials. And for the millennials, number one is actually we. They're the we generation. You hire a group of millennials and tell them they can't work in groups, and they'll work in groups anyway. They'll get, can we just get together? We just get together. We just talk. We just talk. We have to talk. We have to get together. That's what we do. So they talk. They get together. They're the we generation. They love working in groups. It's not about me. It's about we. Okay? Next, I would say a tremendous word to use when you're talking to millennials is the word awesome. Now, we hear it all the time, but the word has changed over the years. That senior citizen generation born many years ago, they used the word awesome totally differently. They thought the Grand Canyon was awesome. It was awe-inspiring. But millennials use it in a very different way. Now, it is overused, I'll admit. The first time I went to the UK, when I would say something, people would say, brilliant! Brilliant. And I thought, these are the most complimentary people I've ever met in my life. They think everything I say is brilliant. And then I realized they didn't mean it like Einstein brilliant. They meant it in the sense of good, or as a previous generation would say, cool or neat or something like that. But when the millennials say awesome, they're giving you their approval. And yes, they use the word a lot. It comes up a lot. But you've got to say awesome when you're talking to millennials to kind of get on their wavelength. And I'll show you how this cascades as we get to some of our other points that we make. The next one is share. Millennials love to share things. Remember, we, and then they share. And of course, it's an awesome thing to share things because that's what we do. So if you've got a millennial in your practice who's a patient, and you've done some nice aesthetic dentistry, something in the aesthetic zone, and the millennial looks really terrific, then here's what you do, doctor. You give your cell phone to a staff person and you get with that millennial and you get a picture with them. Okay, you get that picture. Now, don't use a camera. That's old-fashioned. Millennials will pick up on that right away. Then take that cell phone and text that photo to the millennial. Don't email it. They don't like email. Text. Email's old-fashioned. You text it to the millennial, and when they get it, they go, wow, we look awesome. And then they press a button and they share it with every other millennial in the world. So you've just gotten free publicity, free advertising, and you're speaking the millennial language. The next one on the list is experience. Experience is an interesting thing because, you know, older patients, what are they looking for? Tell me about the procedure. Tell me, you know, how all this works. These younger patients, these millennials, they'll say, you know, it's all about the experience. Some of them say, I don't want to make a lot of money in life. I just want to have great experiences. Well, I certainly hope they don't have the experience of being a poor person, but they want to have great experiences in life. So you can tell them, when you come to our office, we will give you an awesome experience and share all of our technology and our knowledge with you, and it'll just be a great experience for everyone. And then they start to resonate and feel like, yeah, this is what I want. I want the experience. The experience of going to this doctor was fantastic. Now, the next one is participate. Very interesting because it's a different world. Now, doctors, I'm not going to tell you that the millennials are disrespectful or that they don't honor what you do, but it is a generational difference. When my grandparents went to a dentist or to a physician, you know what they said to that doctor? They would say, yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. The millennials are not putting you up on a pedestal. Now, they respect you, but it's a different world. It's much more egalitarian to them. They view you as a vendor. If their car breaks down, they go to the car repair person. If something in their house breaks down, they get somebody to repair that. If their teeth have an issue, they go to the teeth fix-it person, the vendor they hire, and you're the vendor. So they want to participate. They want to have a discussion. They want to be brought in on this. There's no hierarchy. There's no you know and you're trying to teach them. It's all like we're going to sit together and reason this out because we will share the information and we will achieve an awesome result. So that's part of their thinking, part of the psychology. Now, the next one that I put up is be environmentally conscious. And a lot of you say, oh, of course we're environmentally conscious. What are we going to do? Tell the millennials we have digital x-rays? Everybody has digital x-rays. No, you have to be on the leading edge. I know one practice where the entire building is solar powered. Well, that's millennial nirvana. That's the kind of thing you want to say to a millennial. So if you're environmentally conscious, it means not just that you're doing the basic things that people do nowadays, but that you're very, very savvy about it. You're committed to it. Maybe your charitable works are in that direction. That will impress the millennials because they like this. They want to hear about it. They can resonate with you. They like those kinds of values, okay, that you would have. The next one I put up is high tech. And you say, well, of course we're high tech, but you have to be leading edge. Technology changes. If you had technology in your office 2 years ago that was absolutely leading edge, it may not be leading edge today. And you have to be careful the sort of the ethos that you project to the millennial. I know one office, everything was super modern, state of the art, but they had a little consult room and they had this old monitor in there, TV monitor. It had a cathode ray tube that looked like a torpedo. It was long and it was old, it was ancient. It probably put out more radiation than anything else in the office. Well, the millennials are going to pick up on that. That's not high tech, that's anachronistic, whereas everything else in the office really was. So be cognizant of that and also tell them not only are we cognizant of it, but we're also going to meetings and we're getting the latest iteration of everything on the market that's going to make dentistry better, more modern, and help you. I also put the word up partnership because they want to form a partnership with you. They go into it saying, you know what, we're going to come together as partners and we're going to figure this out. Their term case presentation may be an old-fashioned term now in any case because it's really not a lecture, really not a presentation. It's a discussion. But I think with the millennials, that phrase case presentation really has to go. This is really a partnership where we're going to have a discussion and we're going to bring in the millennials and we're going to talk about everything that we need to talk about. And if we say to them, look, you are partners, we are partners with you, that actually is a very good message in terms of getting people to take responsibility for their own oral health. So partnership, not a bad term to use as we go forward in talking to the millennials. The next one is coaching. Now that's an interesting term. And I have to tell you a story, true story about a millennial female. She's in her 20s, early 20s, attractive. She's got beautiful teeth. And she said to me, oh, you work with dentists. And I said, yes, I do. And she said, I have to tell you something. I don't like dentists. And I said, why not? She goes, well, no, actually, I should tell you I don't like hygienists. And I said, well, that's understandable. No, I'm just kidding. She said, no, I don't like hygienists. I said, well, what do you mean? Hygienists are wonderful. They help you. They clean your teeth, and they provide great oral hygiene for you. They help your health. And she said, well, actually, it's not that I don't like all hygienists. I didn't like my former hygienist. Aha, we're narrowing it down from all to one. And I said, well, tell me what happened. She said, well, I went to this other hygienist, and she yelled at me. Oh. Now, if you look up the word yell in your English to Millennial dictionary, you will find out that yell does not mean to raise your voice, to shout and speak sharply to someone. That's what it means to us. But to a millennial, yell means to speak to a millennial in a way that implies they are something less than awesome. So that's sort of what she was thinking. Then she decided she didn't like that hygienist at all. She went to another dentist. The other dentist, of course, had a different hygienist. And she goes to that hygienist, and she likes that hygienist. So I said, why do you like the new hygienist? She said, because she coaches me. Ah, the word coach. Yes, because millennials grew up with coaches. They had sports coaches, academic coaches, music coaches, SAT coaches, coaches for everything. And now they've got an oral hygiene coach. And so the hygienist says to the millennial, you know, you're doing a great job and you're really awesome, but if you could just angle the toothbrush a little differently, that change in angulation could make a big difference. Oh, the millennial said, that's a great tip. I love the hygienist. She coaches me. So think about that. Of course, the irony is the first hygienist and the second hygienist are probably giving the same content when it comes to oral health instruction, but one is perceived as yelling, the other is perceived as coaching. So go figure. The other one I put up is called on-demand learning. Now, on-demand learning is interesting because on your website, you've always got good stuff, and millennials will find your website. I will tell you a couple of things about millennials on the web. If you picture them sitting in front of a desktop computer, a laptop computer, most of the time they're actually accessing your website from their tablet or from their phone, and while they're on the go and multitasking and doing other things. So your website really has to look terrific on a phone or a tablet in order to impress the millennial. What it looks like on the computer, that's one thing, but it's got to look great on the phone, and many of the modern websites can do that. That's number one. Number two is they love content, and millennials are vampires. They're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the wonderful thing about the internet is it does work 24/7. So you want to have new stuff, new photos, new text, all that good stuff. At the same time, you also want to have videos, and I do videos for doctors, and having videos, you're speaking the millennials' language because they like seeing little short videos. They relate to that, they share them with their friends, and they learn from it. And final thing about that on-demand learning is if some millennial is on the internet at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they're not going to call your office. They know you're not there, and they don't like leaving messages. Millennials don't leave messages. That's just not what they do. So you have to have a mechanism in place on your website where if they're interested, they can text you. Text is the key word. They can text, and then when you get the text the next morning, you can text them back and start a dialogue and hopefully get them in. And that's kind of how that works. Well, I just wanted to give you this little slice, this little introduction. When I do the full day seminar, of course, we talk not just about the millennials, but we talk about the baby boomers and all the other generations. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction because it's a fascinating topic and it's going to be with us for a long time. I'm David Schwab. If you have any questions about this, of millennials or helping your practice, please feel free to find me on the web at davidschwab.com. Thank you very much.